Hey everybody, in this video, I'm going to show you how to draft and sew this handkerchief skirt. You ready? Let's get into this. The first step is to find out if you want to make the skirt with an elastic waistband or a waistband with a zipper. Once you decide which one, then take your measurement to find out the radius to make the full circle skirt. So this is the formula for the hips, and this is the formula for the waist. I know, this math might look a little confusing for the beginners. I know the beginners are like, what the heck is this? I don't even know what this is. It's okay. I wanted to show you the long way to get the radius, which is the measurement you will need to make the full circle skirt. But I want you to study this so you know where your measurement came from, okay guys? Now that you understand it, let me show you a simple way to get the radius. This is a simple way, okay guys? Just divide your measurement by 6.28. That's it. It's that simple. I would add 1/2 inch seam allowance on the pattern for the side seams. That's because I will cut the skirt on the lengthwise grain. The pattern will be too long for the 45-inch wide fabric I'll be using, so I will cut the pattern twice on fold. I will show you what I mean in a little while. So for me, I'll be using my dress form hips because I want to make a full skirt with an elastic waistband. So my radius will be 6.5. This waistband will be a high waistband, and I want to use a 2-inch elastic. So the width will be 2 inches plus 2 inches plus 1/4, which is the elastic ease. This is important, guys. You don't want to put a 2-inch elastic inside a 2-inch casing. It will be too tight, and the elastic will turn and twist inside because it needs space to lay flat. Then I will add 1-inch seam allowance. My total will be 5 1/4. The length measurement for me will be 18 inches long. Next is the sleeve measurement. My sleeve length will be 21.5 plus 1 inch seam allowance. And my cuff length will be 3 1/8 plus 1 inch seam allowance. My sleeve width will be 4 inches plus 1 inch seam allowance. And my cuff width will be the same. Now let's make the pattern. So my radius is 6.5. So from here to here, I will mark 6.5. And from here to here, I will mark 6.5. Next, I will come down from the tip and mark 6.5 all around like this. After that, I will make a curve. Then I will put a 1/2 inch seam allowance on top like this. Next up is the length of the skirt. You have to decide how long you want it. Now you don't want this length to be too long because the way I'm going to design it, you're going to understand why this length shouldn't be too long. If this length is too long, the pointy part of the skirt will be on the floor. So you don't want this length too long. So for my dress form, I measured the waist to length and decided how the pointy part is going to be. So this skirt length will be 18 inches long. So I will mark 18 inches here, and then from here to here, I will mark 18 inches. From this mark, make a straight line to connect to the other mark. Then make a straight line going up. Okay, right here is where a lot of people stop drafting. This right here is one way to make a handkerchief skirt. So you can stop right here if you want. There are also other ways to make it. I'm going to show you another way. I want to make a dramatic look. I have a couple of ways to make a handkerchief skirt. So if you want me to make different styles, then let me know in the comments. So let's start drafting the pointy corner. You can start the design from the middle or anywhere over here, but don't go before the middle because it won't look right. I'm going to divide this measurement by 4. So I measured 24.5. 24.5 divided by 4 is 6 1/8. It will be 6 1/8 here, and it will be 6 1/8 over here. I'm going to put my ruler from here all the way up to the corner right here and make a straight line. So this is what it looks like. Next, put your ruler on this line and make a straight line going down like this. From this corner, I will come down and mark 6 inches. This measurement might be shorter for you. I will explain why in a little while. Connect the lines like this. After that, you're going to put your seam allowance. You don't want to put a 1-inch seam allowance because it'll be too big to fold over on this narrow corner. 3/4 will look better. So fold over 3/8 and then 3/8 again. That's a total of 3/4. I traced it on another paper, so here is 3/8 and 3/8, which is a 3/4 seam allowance. Now I'm going to show you how to cover the raw edge on the tip. First, make a line here on top of both lines like this, then cut through the lines. I'm going to fold it on the 3/4 seam allowance lines, then fold in the 3/8 seam allowance on both sides like this. Once you fold the 3/8, you're going to notice this piece on the bottom. You don't need this piece. Cut that part off like this. When you open it, you will see a little triangle piece like this. This is the raw edge right here. We're trying to cover the raw edge. So what we're going to do is fold the raw edge in like this, and then take the little triangle right here and fold it in. Then close this side, just like that. Now you're going to see no raw edge because you covered it with the little piece, and it will look clean on the front. So for this design, you will need a lot of fabric because of the pointy part on the bottom. So you're going to have to put a 1/2 inch seam allowance on the pattern for the side seam because you will have to cut 2 pieces of this on the lengthwise grain. Remember what I said earlier in the video, that this length right here shouldn't be too long. That's because this length right here is not going to be your final measurement. So you do have to do some calculations for the pointy part on the bottom. Your true measurement will start from here all the way down to the tip. This skirt for my dress form is about 34.5. I'm not a tall person, I'm short, so this skirt length will be too long on me. It would pass my feet. My dress form is extendable, so it works for her. So you do have to be careful when it comes to this part right here. You could make it 3 inches and it will still look pointy. As you can see, there are 2 handkerchief styles here. You can make a handkerchief skirt with this line right here. The pattern will be a square box. This is method 1. And this line right here will be method 2. It will have a little bit more drama on the end of the skirt. So you will have to calculate this length right here. If this length is really long, then the pointy triangle has to be little. It depends on how tall you are. Or you might have no choice but to make the first method, which is the square box. Let me give you one example so you can understand it better. My length from here down is about 34.5. Let's say the skirt is for me, and I like how it looks at the end of the skirt, so I want to do method 2. I will make the skirt length 16 inches here and here, and for the pointy triangle, I will make it 3 inches. So as you can see, it will still be pointy at the end. So it really depends on how tall you are, how long you want your skirt length, and how long you want the pointy triangle. So here's the waistband. Cut 2 pieces. Cut the elastic 2 or 3 inches smaller than your waist measurement. It depends on what type of elastic you have. And here is the sleeve and cuff. Cut 2 for the sleeve, and for the cuff, cut 2 for the main fabric and cut 2 for the lining. This is the layout for the skirt pattern. The pattern is on a cross grain because the fabric is 45 inches wide and it won't fit on a straight grain. You will have to make 2 pieces. Each piece will be on fold. These are all the sewing pieces. First, I'm going to put the sleeve cuffs right side to right side and sew a 1/2 inch and a 1/2 inch for the end of the cuffs. Then flip them over and sew an understitch. So this is the main fabric and this is the lining. I sewed it a 1/2 inch. And this is the understitch, so it doesn't roll to the front. Next, open the sleeve on the right side and sew the cuff to the sleeve, a 1/2 inch. After that, turn it over right side to right side and sew the seam allowance. For the sleeves, you can decorate it with buttons if you want. I'm just using these as an example, but I would use a smaller size for the buttons. Next is attaching the sleeve to the skirt. Pin the sleeve 1 inch from here and sew it 1/4. After that, put the back piece of the skirt on top, right side to right side, and sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Here is the front of the waistband, and this is the back. This has a 1/2 inch seam allowance, but I folded 3/8 because we need it to be longer in the back to sew a stitch in the ditch. So pin the waistband to the skirt and sew all around a 1/2 inch. Then flip the waistband over and sew a stitch in the ditch on the front. When you sew the waistband to the skirt, make sure you leave a 2 inch opening so you can put the elastic inside the waistband casing. This is the back of the elastic and this is the front. Put it inside like this and sew a stitch in the ditch. Stretch the waistband so that the elastic fits evenly in the casing. To make sure the elastic doesn't turn and twist in the casing, you can either sew a long stitch on both side seams like this, or you can sew 2 lines on the waistband so that the elastic doesn't turn and twist in the waistband. It's all up to you. And this is how the skirt looks. I love how the pointy triangle looks on the bottom of the skirt. Do you like it, and are you going to make yours? Let me know in the comments. I do have other handkerchief designs that I want to show you. If you would like me to make the videos, then let me know in the comments. I made some bubble skirts. If you want to see more, then check out this playlist. Click or tap on the screen right here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to practice, practice, practice. Bye, everybody.